So this is an air squat, one of the movements you'll find yourself doing a whole bunch, but we've got a couple things to look at. First, we got the stance. Stance is gonna be about a shoulder width stance, so your heels are in line with your shoulders. The toes are gonna be slightly pointed out, depending on your level of flexibility. You might be able to turn them in a bit, but just slightly out. The weight's gonna be balanced about the foot, not too far back in the heel, not in the toe, more midfoot. And the idea here is you send your butt back and down and go all the way down till your hip is clearly below your knee. Looks like this, back and down, till when you look down at this, and Cheryl's little tiny short legs here, your hip is clearly below the knee, okay? Now stand on back up. Standards are important. They're important for life. They're also important for movement. So make sure you're trying to do your very best, if you can move pain-free, to keep that weight back and down and keep going all the way down until the hip crease is clearly below the knee. Another thing to look at in the squat is making sure we're not going way up into our toes or anything crazy like that. It's just staying back in those heels, flat-footed, and going all the way down. Now another thing is stand all the way up at the top. So this is all the way up. Show me not all the way up, which is kind of bent. Nice, okay. That's not all the way up. Try to stand all the way up at the top. If you need to feel what that feels like, just go ahead and squeeze your butt, not with your hand, but with your actual butt muscles, and that'll help you feel that top position. And that's what we got. That is the air squat. So this is a bootstrap stretch. You get out to a squatting stance, you drop all the way down, you grab your toes, you get a little bit of a pull down in the bottom, get those hips going, and then you straighten your legs. Those of us who have tight hamstrings might not be a full straighten, but you're gonna look to try to straighten your legs and then come back down. Don't do this too aggressively, and don't put yourself out making this happen. Just try to get down to the bottom, give it a little stretch, and then straighten the legs. You're supposed to be holding your bootstraps, but none of us have bootstraps anymore. If you're working out with bootstraps, power to you. So this is the walking lunge, and you can do this walking or in place. She's gonna show you what you can do walking inside, a couple steps, turn around, couple steps. Another way you can do this is by just stepping out and then stepping back, which looks like this. Step out, step back. You can also do this by stepping back and then forward. So she basically start with your feet here and step back and then step forwards. And this is a slightly different stimulus. Some people far prefer this. They say it mimics a walking lunge a little bit better than actually stepping forward and then stepping back. Some things that we can do to make this more challenging, or that you'll also see pop up, are walking lunge with weight. And you can do this with two hands, or you can do it with one hand. We're gonna demonstrate it with one hand, but there's walking lunge with weight at your waist, which looks like this. So you hold it at your side, you lunge out, and then you lunge back. Or you lunge and walk around. That's the other one as well. There's holding it on your shoulder. Same sort of deal. And then there's holding it up overhead, which is the most horrendous of all of these. A lunge out and a lunge back. And those are all our walking lunge variations. So this is the downward dog to cobra. Downward dog to cobra. You end up in this kind of butt up in the air position. This is the downward dog. You're driving your heels into the ground, getting a stretch there, pushing into the ground with your arms, and then you do the cobra, where you dip the head down and go into a cobra position. She had a little bit of a drop of the hip during that transitional piece. The more, and then you push back up through it. The more you can kind of scoop through it and take it nice and slow, the more it's gonna give you. So once again, this is the downward dog. She scoops down in there, bam, gets a little stretch. And it's up to you whether or not you go hiss and hiss like a cobra. Again, fully optional. So this is a push-up, and the different variations of a push-up. Basically, you're gonna look to get your body out nice and flat. Good, pretty plank here. You go all the way down till your chest touches the ground, and you press all the way back up to your elbow locks out. Rather than shortening up the range of the push-up, so don't do a half push-up, what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna go to your knees. You do a push-up where you go to your knees, touch your chest to the ground, come back up. So you make it a little bit easier with where you're holding. Another thing you can do is you can elevate that. You can even go on your knees and elevate it. So go over, she'll show you on the box here. So basically go on your knees, elevate it up, go down till you touch your chest. But the same thing applies. We want the same range of motion. Chest touches the object, elbows lock out at the top. That's our push-up and some variations.